50 chess mistakes we all do, and these mistakes are crucial because sometimes you do have an advantage and you lost it, and sometimes you have a draw and you lost it. Today we are talking about mistake number 6, and it focuses about the opposite colored bishops and the exchanges of the heavy pieces with the opposite colored bishops on the board. First of all, let me do this. I will ask you the first questions and first 4 questions, and then we will get to the examples one by one. So here in this position, you are playing white, and your opponent offered you the queen's exchange. In the meantime, there is some kind of attack here, yeah, and you are 2 pawns up. Will you exchange or not? Position number 2. Here you are black, and your opponent offered you rook's exchange. Will you accept that or not? Position number 3. In this position, black gave you a check. Will you go to b5 or to b4? By the way, pause the video if you would like to, and then think about it for a few seconds or maybe a minute or two, and then come back. And this is the position. Will you play rook d2 or not as white to exchange this active rook? Now, let's go back to the first position. First of all, this is mistake number 6, and the first 5 mistakes are important. You can find them on the channel. 50 mistakes you should know. And please, if you like this content, if you are interested in improving your chess, do subscribe to the channel, because we need your support, we need your help, your subscription, so you help us continue. Yeah. So here in this position, there is one single rule you have to apply. If your bishop is active, if you do have any sort of material, either you are attacking or you have a material advantage or whatever, do not exchange pieces. Following the rule, like I do have material advantage, let's just simplify the position. With the opposite colored bishops, whenever you simplify, you lose part of your advantage. And if you keep simplifying, you will lose the whole advantage, even if you kept sometimes some pawns, maybe 1 pawn, maybe 2 pawns, 3 pawns, sometimes even it's a draw. So that's why here in this position, actually white is 1900 rated player, and he did not follow this rule. He was not aware of, and he exchanged the queen, saying that, okay, I will make my life easier. Like I am 2 pawns up, I fought hard during the game, and now it's time to relax. I will exchange queens, so by that I will not get any checkmating ideas, and my king will be safer. But huge part of the advantage actually is just lost. In the game, or instead of what happened in the game, queen takes d5, queen f6 was a much better alternative. And for example, after queen d2, ideas like bishop d4 is killing, like queen e5 to be coming, and then bishop c5, and this king actually will be simply mated, yeah, simply mated. And while this king is safe, yeah, but and what's interesting about this example, after queen f6, almost best move for black is queen f5. Now I want you to exchange, even if that will ruin my pawn structure. This is my best chance to survive this game. So this is super important. In the game, actually, queen takes d5 is played. And furthermore, rook c1. Not being aware of this mistake, you're not making them as the one who does have the advantage. No. The black player, guys, is almost 2000 rated. You have very good rating. And here in this position, he simply should exchange rooks. And after rook c1, bishop c1, the position is much, much closer being a draw, especially after ideas like probably rook g7, and the rooks will be exchanged because of g2 stuff. So in the game, black played rook b8. What? And after rook b8, now rook c7, and white is completely winning, like bishop d4, and this king now is in a mating net, like bishop here or bishop here with checks, with everything, and this rook is not playing, this rook is not playing, and this bishop is just watching, yeah? So this is super, super important. Let's see position number 2 and apply the same idea. Again, as black, do we have any sort of advantage? Yes, we do. What is the advantage that we have? We do have a better pawn structure first, and probably this is the most. And we do have probably a most active bishop, and maybe a better chances for a better king, yeah? But most likely we do have a better pawn structure. If you do have any sort of advantage, do not exchange especially heavy pieces, rooks or queen. So here in this position, Probably black was underrated or unrated, but he's seems to be a very good player. But he missed this idea and he played king f6, and that was actually a bad move. Why? Because he allowed rook c4. What should have been done is rook c7, and after rook c7, black kept the most possible chance to win the game. And actually a sample line, I don't want to go like into details, but a sample line might be like this. For example, improve the rook and b5 and a5, and actually white needs to just keep waiting while black is improving. Black is improving while white is just waiting. Yeah, white is waiting. That makes the margin of error greater or bigger for white. And after, for example, ideas like bishop f1, bishop g2, the g3 pawn will be taken, and black is actually winning in this position. Will move away, and then move the bishop, and then h4 pawn will be taken, and a passer will be out of these three, or maybe two passers. What's interesting actually in the game after king f6, rook takes c4, bishop takes c4, the game ended in a win for black. I wanted to show you the last actually, or how black did manage to win, because this is almost, it's not almost, it's a dead draw actually, but it was a mistake here. For example, a better move was bishop here and simply just provoking a4, and after that come back and the defense will be great. But after king b3, moving, which this actually the last trick for black was b4. And now after b4, white to play and draw. What to play here? cb or ab? Actually, AB is what happened in the game, and that was a big mistake. CB should have been played, and now I'm threatening B takes. If you go A4, threatening to take and create a passer, simply B5 will give you the pawn back, and then everything is protected. You have a passer, but it's just blocked, and whenever you attack here, I can simply defend, and things are great. But in the game, actually, white messed up and played A takes B4, but after A4, he's completely losing, like bishop C4 first, and then A3 and bishop D3, supporting the pawn, probably bishop B4, king B3. This pawn will be taken, and this is an extra piece. Black got lucky, yeah? Now third position. Now your answer here is very important. Here in this position, king b5, there is rook a5. And yeah, white is better. White is 2 pawns up, but again, opposite colored bishops. Do not exchange heavy pieces. But if I go king b5, there's rook a5. And yeah, I know I don't want to exchange heavy pieces. But wait a second, like, if I go king b4, there is bishop d6. Yes, true. But keep moving, yeah? King b4, if you go bishop d6, which is I am afraid of, now I do have king b5. And after king b5, if you exchange, then you're totally losing. King b7, c7, c8, you have to give up the bishop, yeah? And white is completely winning. A piece and a pawn up. So after king b4, bishop d6, king b5, black has to play rook a3, or moving the rook away, but rook a3 to attack, and to attack these two pieces, but simply now rook c3. And white is completely winning, c7 is coming. And I kept the rook alive, and if you go bishop c7, now white to play and win. Very quickly, very easily, bishop f7, yeah, the rook will be taken. What happened in the game was strange. White played king b5, he's rated 1700, and he played rook a5 check. And after rook a5 check, king c4, and then the rooks are exchanged. But the problem of this position is that the king is not easy to participate. It needs time, yeah? It requires time. And here black found this interesting move f5. White tried h5 actually, so if you take, maybe I take. But simply king f6, and h6 is played, and after f takes e4, the position is just a draw. And the game ended in a draw. Fourth position and the last one. Here, will you go rook d2 or not? Now it's easy, yeah? Now it's easy to answer. Even if you got the right answer, our point here is not just to get the right answer, to get the reasoning behind the right answer, and then we can answer many similar questions easily. So here, look at the bishops. Whose bishop is better? Whose position is better? Yeah, my bishop is better. Also, I am better because I do have a better pawn structure. So here, that's why I should not exchange heavy pieces. In the game, rook d2 was played. Was there a better move than rook d2? Yes, for sure. But a specific better move? I'm not completely sure. But what I'm sure of, not to play rook d2. And sometimes being sure of what not to play will make your life much easier. One of the moves actually I will consider, beside like supporting the pawn, maybe somewhere like queen, for example, a6, is h4, yeah? Imagine that this pawn cannot be taken, and maybe it can be taken, I'm not sure. but h4 is a very interesting idea. So you fix the structure, and if g5, there's always h5, and then there will be no g6, and this king will be actually kind of in a mating net. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. But in the game, white played rook d2. White is 1900, his opponent is 2200, so that's why he wanted to exchange pieces and to simplify the game to achieve the draw. But sometimes you need to fight harder. So g5 is played, which was a great move, and after bishop d5, simply g6, queen d3, threatening queen takes g6, but then king g7, bishop b3, queen c7, and now again the last chance to keep at least a small chance to win the game, or a small chance to fight in the game, to play queen d5. So after queen d5, black's queen cannot go away of the f7 square. Maybe you can improve the king, you can improve the pawn structure a bit, you can improve your pawns somehow. So at least you can try. But white played, again, exchanged the queens and played queen c4, and after queen c4, bishop c4, the position is, or I mean, the exchange will be kind of forced because f7 is attacked, and the position and the game ended in a draw. So I hope you got the mistake number 6, and I hope you will not do it in your games, and you will feel happy while watching your opponents do them. That will be actually very great. Thanks for watching. This is our video today. If you like this one and find it useful, don't forget to check the whole series, the first 5 mistakes. You will find it somewhere in your left, and subscribe for more. Have a nice one.